Our third session of this panel discussion is Cultivating a Winning Sales Culture, the culture within an organization which plays a very important role in driving sales success. Today, we have the privilege from hearing from our sensational and esteemed industry leaders who have successfully crafted and nurtured sales culture that inspire and empower teams to excel together. Well, we do have our panelists, but I'd like to invite the moderator, and he's going to take forward the session. Leading this engaging discussion, we have a distinguished moderator, Mr. Shishir Pachhai, who is accomplished and a decisive individual himself, a professional who's been working in this industry for 16 years, and that too in a very commendable way in corporate operations and execution. He has a very strong perception using integrated methodologies, whatever he's learned through his experience. He will guide our esteemed panelists as they share their experience, strategies, vision for fostering a sales culture that leads to victory. Now it's time that we gain insights with this panel discussion, Cultivating a Winning Sales Culture. Let me invite the moderator, everyone together, Mr. Shishir Pachhai, CEO of Kantipur Television HD. A huge round of applause, please.
Check. Thank you, Preska. Thank you. Thank you, Mohandai, for having us in this grand and so energizing event. It's an absolute honor and privilege to be here in this session, Cultivating a Winning Sales Culture. Good morning, everyone. I hope you guys are pumped up after Mr. Pawan Agrawal's session. He was sensational, right? So I will take his example. Like Pawan Agrawal sir was actually talking about winning sales culture. He was actually from 1890 to till here. He was talking about how customer satisfaction was the first priority. He was talking about all the takeaways from collaborations to the services that he was giving to his client, and how employee first also was the approach of his that made Dabbawala as a Dabbawala today. So with his example also, what I think is sales, when we talk about sales or winning sales, it is directly related with human relation, human emotions, human intelligence, right? So it's a continuous process. It cannot be a one-day process. And as he said, and I understand that winning sales culture is a component, is a multiple factors component, like strategy, leadership, passion, resilience, and many other things. Many other things. In fact, he's expressed like timely delivery and everything. Many other things which actually shape, which actually give the trajectory to the organization. If we don't have right culture in the organizations, we may not have right sales, we may not have right team, maybe. So in today's session, Cultivating a Winning Sales Culture, we will deep dive into this discussion. We'll try to come up with a multiple process. We'll try to come up with the multiple examples that how we can create a system where there is a winning sales, where there is a winning sales strategy, or where there is a winning culture we can actually incorporate over there. And to discuss this, we have a great, amazing panel with us today. So I would like to introduce them and welcome them to join me on stage. First, I would like to request our Seema, Director of Him Electronics. She has a 20 years of experience, a passionate advocate of women empowerment. She has also served as a president of Jonta Club of Kathmandu. And one thing she's so proud in last 20 years that she has accomplished of establishing all women staff at Samsung Plaza. Can you believe like 99% of staffs are a team of female and they are doing great job over there. Seema, please. Then I would like to request Mr. Rohit Gupta, Vice Chairman at Ramesh Corp. Rohit, knowing Rohit he's the youngest Vice President at CNI Nepal. And his team known him as a humble personality. And after he joined his organizations, he is known as a culture champion. Like he has changed the organization structure since he joined the organization. So Rohit, I would like to request you, please join us in the stage. And when talking about Akshay, like other side of Akshay, like Akshay is a fitness priority guy. He keeps his fitness at the first. And while I was talking to him, I found that he's a great animal lover and also passionate about his traveling. Akshay, you're welcome to the stage, please. Everyone ready now? Since it's a sales summit, I think we need participants from both sides. Before we start the conversation, I just want to quickly ask some questions to you all, which you just have to agree or disagree. In your agreement, you just put your hands up, or if you don't agree, it's okay. How many of you agree that a company have winning sales but a losing culture? I'll repeat my question. How many of you agree that a company have winning sales but a losing culture? All right? So I think I will start that context with giving one case study. Is it okay? Like, yeah? A case study, हामीले जुन सुनिराखेकै छौँ, हामीले जुन पढेकै छौँ, नेपालको एक्जाम्पल र केही बाहिरको एउटा एक्जाम्पल लिने बेलामा जनकपुर चुरोट कारखाना, नेकोन एयर, बाँसबारी जुत्ता, यो नेपालको एउटा केस भयो आउट अफ मेनी. अनि आउट अफ मेनी इन्टरनेसनलमा चाहिँ मैले रिलायन्स टेलिकम्युनिकेसन्सको एउटा एक्जाम्पल लिएँ हैन. दिस कम्पनीज जब तिनीहरू आफ्नो बेलामा आफ्नो काम गरिराखेको थिए, तिनीहरूले अनम्याच्ड आफ्नो सेल्स टार्गेट पुरा गरिराखेका थिए, अनम्याच्ड सेल्स टार्गेट. अनि कन्ज्युमरको लागि यो आफ्नो पर्सिभ लेभलमा हाइएस्ट पर्सिभ लेभलमा बसिराखेको थियो उनीहरू हैन. अनि वान अफ द मोस्ट बिगेस्ट ब्रान्ड भएका थिए. तर फास्ट फरवर्ड आज हामी 2023 आएर हेर्दाखेरि उनीहरू जस्ट एउटा केस स्टडीमा सीमित भएर बसे, राइट. यो विनिङ सेल्स र लुजिङ कल्चरको मैले जुन कन्सर्न यहाँ राखेँ, माई फर्स्ट क्वेसन गोज टु रोहित. Based on your experience, Rohit, do you think a company can have winning sales but a losing culture? And how a losing culture can impact the growth of the company?
Thank you, Shishir. Well, I'll start with the popular saying, culture eats strategy for breakfast. So whether we agree with this or not agree with this, but the relevance here is how important the culture is for an organization. So the references that you gave of some companies in Nepal, globally, or many companies globally, just at one time, Nokia ko example, I started my career with mobile phones. So when I started off, when I came back to Nepal 2008, so I launched an Indian brand called Spice Mobile into Nepal, and at that time Nokia almost had an 80% market share, globally, not only in Nepal. So, and within 7 years of that, Nokia was non-existent. So would you give that to a winning sales team or a losing culture? So I definitely believe and think that we cannot have a winning sales team if we have a losing culture in an organization. Culture is a very tight-knit thing that you have in an organization that drives everything, because until and unless sales team knows about the product, knows about the organizational value, the purpose, it is very difficult for them to translate that into numbers or revenue goals. So these are two very synonymous, I believe, to each other. In our organization, what I have felt like in my career, in my journey, when we started off with mobile phone business, I have tried like multiple brands over the period of time. So why I'm still successful in this industry is because we have been able to adapt. We have been agile. So many times what happens to an organization is the top brass is so focused in their own dreams that they detach themselves with the market reality. So once that happens, then the culture, like, there's no culture and everything, falls apart. So then you cannot have a winning sales team.
Okay, so will that impact the growth of the company, like if you don't adapt or agile? So that if
Absolutely. I mean, the classic case studies that you spoke about Reliance Communication, right? I mean, that is what happened. Reliance was focusing on CDMA when there was a GSM technology, and the brother and Mukesh Ambani, he slightly closely he bet on the 4G spectrum, and while all the other players were sitting on 3G. So what I want to say is, the organizational belief, the top brass, they should be also able to adapt, be agile, and also be able to see the future and be able to adapt to it. If you do not do that, any company can be Nokia, right? I mean, we never thought that Nokia is where, although I'm still distributing Nokia, but I mean, from the heydays of Nokia, no one could have imagined that the brand which globalized mobile phones would be actually a non-existent existing player, in that particular, vertical in 1.5 decades.
Agree. Like, I mean, you rightly touched upon Nokia, adaptability and agility. We'll come to that particular question. But before that, I think I want to ask, like, Seema di, what do you think, like, when you talk about winning culture? हामी यो आज सेसनमा बस्ने बेलामा लुजिङ कल्चरको हामीले एकछिन अगाडि कुरा गर्ने बेलामा केही एक्जाम्पल्समा छिर्यौँ, तर एक्चुअली विनिङ कल्चर्सका की कम्पोनेन्ट्सहरू के हुन् हैन? हामी एज अ सेल्स म्यानेजरले बुझ्नै पर्ने कुराहरू के हुन् त त्यो विनिङ कल्चरहरू? तपाईहरुको इन्डस्ट्रीमा त्यसलाई कसरी युज भइराखेको छ? एज जर्नलाइज हामीले नेपालको इन्डस्ट्रीलाई कुरा गर्दाखेरि कस्ता विनिङ कल्चरहरूलाई हामीले की फ्याक्टरबाट हेर्नु पर्यो?
Okay, thank you. So when I think of winning culture, the most important thing is the leadership. That's it. You start with that. Because the company's ethos, the company's vision, mission should be very, very clear and transparent down the line. Your sales team, where we are talking about, if you don't know the company's vision, so that's the leadership has to very clarify what are they thinking about, because that's long term. The sales part is just very short term, but if you want the company to continue, I mean, for me, our organization is now 100 years old. It's all about transparency. So that's, again, leadership, transparency. And obviously, what I feel is very important is to be able to talk to each other and to get a feedback, which normally does not happen. We have to accept that the mindset is like that what has been told from the superior, it comes down. But to get the feedback from what is happening at the employee level is very important, and that keeps the company culture going. So I guess the communication is, again, one of the very important, what is company thinking of, what is the idea, how the company wants to progress, and that should be very well communicated to the entire team. Only then it's possible that it is a winning culture is going to be evolved. And I guess these all the components make a winning team.
When we talk about components of communications, leadership, transparency, feedback, Akshay, my next questions will be to you, definitely. Since Rohit touched upon Nokia's case studies and adaptive and agility, don't we think that, like, Nokia just a company, jo sansarlai, when there was no nearest competitors, right? Uniyarle willingness, like, organizations ma euta winning culture को लागि, retention को लागि होस्, like communications को लागि होस्, हैन? उनीहरुले कुन लेभलको एउटा इन्भेस्टमेन्ट गरेर बसिराखेको थियो होला एउटा. अनि सेकेन्ड, लाइक, अब मार्केटमा जुन लेभलको प्रोग्राम उनीहरूले इन्ट्रोड्युस गराएको थियो, डेफिनेटली अनम्याच्ड भएर उनीहरू गइराखेको थियो. म थोरै अलिकति केस मात्रै बनाइदिरहेको छु र यिनीहरूको केस स्टडिज मैले पनि यिनीहरूको हेर्दाखेरि, लाइक, आउट अफ मेनी कम्पोनेन्ट्स, कम्युनिकेसन्स, लिडरसिप, ट्रान्सपेरेन्सीमा यिनीहरू त कहीँ पनि, यिनीहरूलाई कहीँ त्यहाँ इस्यु नै थिएन कि. तर मेजर फेलियरको आउटकम्स दुईवटा कुरामा निकालिएको थियो. एउटा चाहिँ इनोभेसन, राइट, जसमा चाहिँ आई वान्ट, अहिले हजुरले आफ्नो पोइन्ट्स अफ भ्यू राख्ने बेलामा यसमा चाहिँ हामी छिर्नुपर्छ, बिकज हामी ट्रेडिङ बेस्ड देशमा सेल्स कल्चरलाई हामीले त्यो इनोभेसन्समा, हाम्रो इनोभेसन्स R&D कस्तो कल्चरले छोइराखेको छ, एउटा मेबी एउटा मेन क्वेसन्स हजुरलाई त्यो हुन्छ. इनोभेसन्स र टेक्नोलोजिकल एडभान्समेन्टको एक्सेप्टेन्स राइट टाइममा नभएको एउटा त्यो केस स्टडीमा एउटा कुरा थियो कतै। अनि सेकेन्ड एकदमै महत्त्वपूर्ण कुरा जुन विनिङ कल्चरको लागि छुन्छ कस्टमर प्रिफरेन्स, राइट। किन पवन अग्रवाल सरले एकदमै के भन्नुहुन्छ मेरा कस्टमर क्या चाहता है एकदमै छुन खोजिरहेको थियो। यो दुईवटा कुरा नोकियाको सेल्समा त्यसलाई किन होला लाग्छ, लाइक नोकियाको केस स्टडी फेल हुँदाखेरि किन होला कि लाइक R&D अनि इनोभेसन्स र कस्टमर प्रिफरेन्स महत्त्वपूर्ण छ, इम्पोर्टेन्ट, र कस्तो स्ट्राटेजी हामी जस्तो देशले बनाउनु पर्ने छ विनिङ कल्चरको लागि।
Thank you, Shishir. Good morning, everyone. So I'll start off with an example of one of our companies. It's called Reliance Spinning Mills. It's around a 30-year-old company operating in Khanar, Nepal. We have around 3,500 laborers, 500 staff, so a workforce of 4,000. Till date, we have not had any strike. So this is probably one of the handful of industries that has never had a industrial relation problem. So back in 2020, when we were all in lockdown, all our companies were shut. We were forced to stop our businesses, stop our lifestyle, everything. We decided, as a company, we decided that until the government tells us to stop, we will run our industry. Until we are forced to completely say that, okay, we cannot do anything, we will continue to run. Doesn't matter. What we did at that time was we did not stop anyone's salary. We did not do any pay cuts. We did not have any problems within our system that would impact the livelihood of basic minimum wage labor. The result of that was that in the year 2020-21, we had the highest sales recorded in the last 27 years. We had the highest profitability in the last 27 years. And since 2020, the last 3 years have, year on year, we have grown in our revenue. Year on year, we have grown in our profits. And what we decided as a board, as a team, was that we want to invest in technology. We don't want to get left behind, as the world moves towards better technology, better processes. So we introduced, for the first time in Nepal, we introduced a Japanese technology that makes the laborious work much simpler. It is much easier for the workman to produce 1 kilo of yarn. And more than that, we invested in systems that makes the lifestyle of our people easier. So in our spinning system, we have huge air conditioners. It's a big investment. But the result of that was the revenues, the profitability, the growth. And now we are hugely competitive. Our quality is very well recognized. Nepali yarn, Nepali dhago ko quality is recognized higher than Indian yarn. India is a pioneer of textiles. It is very well appreciated, and the best part is we get high prices. So of course, culture has to go hand in hand with technological advancement. We cannot keep working like we were working 20 years ago or 30 years ago. Technology ma sadai invest garnu parcha, upgrade gardinu parcha. Another thing related to culture, as Rohit said, was, culture does eat strategy for breakfast. I have learned that in my MBA as well. So I'll give you a second example from one of our businesses. We are highly invested into hydropower. Ab hydropower ma 2-3 barsha dekhin PPA bhairakheko thiyena. We had created a very big team, CEO, nice, very experienced, 40 years experience bhako CEO. We had started an entire team, about 20-25 engineers in the hydro business. PPA bhairakheko thiyena. Our board was discussing, why do we have such a high salaried team when there is no PPA, when there is no business? What can we do? So I was discussing with my head of HR, and she and me agreed to a certain extent that the investment right now will bear fruit eventually. If you, just because of government policies, if we as a private sector do not invest and do not give confidence to the people, then what makes us different from the government, right? So we continued that team, and I'm proud to say that the same team that we retained and we encouraged, for the first time in the history of Nepal, a private sector entity got a grant from a US government organization called DFC. So it's a $10 million grant, and it's never happened in a private entity before in Nepal, and this is thanks to believing in the team and believing in the culture.
That's great. So हजुरले भन्दै गर्दाखेरिको त्यो कन्फिडेन्स र रिटेन्सनको कुरामा इलेक्सनमा म फेरि आउँछु र हाम्रो सीमादीले कुरा गर्दै कम्युनिकेसन्स लिडरसिपमा पनि म फेरि आउँछु. सिन्स यो इभेन्ट सेल्स टिमको लागि सेल्स समिट भएको हुनाले एउटा क्वेसन्स म कताबाट लिएर जान चाहन्छु भने चाहिँ विनिङ सेल्स र विनिङ कल्चर अहिले मैले यसलाई दुईवटा पार्टमा डाइसेक्ट गरेको छु. सो पहिला विनिङ सेल्समा म छिर्न खोजेँ. विनिङ सेल्स त्यतिखेर मात्रै सुरु हुन्छ जब टार्गेट अचिभड हुन्छ. म आज आफै पनि एउटा कम्पनीको इम्प्लोइ भएको हुनाले र हरेक वर्ष बजेटिङको प्लानमा हामी बस्ने बेलामा हामी टार्गेट सेट गर्छौँ. यो टार्गेट सेट गर्ने बेलामा हामीले जति खर्च लेखे पनि बाई सेल्स राखेर त्यो टार्गेटलाई हामीले कसरी पुरा गर्ने भनेर हाम्रो एउटा सेल्सको हामी टार्गेट राख्छौँ. मेरो क्वेसन अहिले यो डायसमा बसेको मैले हेर्ने नजरिया चाहिँ एज अ इन्भेस्टर, एज अ इम्प्लोयर, हजुरहरूले त्यो टार्गेट सेट गर्ने बेलामा जुन एमाउन्ट कसरी दिइन्छ भनेपछि ल लास्ट इयर 100 करोड भएको थियो, यस वर्ष 15% इन्क्रिमेन्ट चाहियो. त्यो 15% इन्क्रिमेन्टको साइन्टिफिक मेथड के हो? एकचोटि हाम्रो सेल्स टिम, हाम्रो सेल्स म्यानेजर, सेल्स डिरेक्टर या सेल्स मान्छेहरू बसिराख्नु भएको छ. हाम्रो टार्गेट जुन सेट गर्छौँ त्यो साइन्टिफिक मेथड के हो र त्यसको ऱ्यासनल हामीले कसरी जस्टिफाइड गर्छौँ? म यो क्वेसन रोहितबाट एन्सर लिन चाहन्छु.
Thank you, Shishir. Unfortunately, this is not a very clear answer, but I'll tell you what we practice in our organization. तपाईले एकदम ठिक कुरा भन्नुभयो. I mean, अब जस्तै नेपालीज कन्टेक्स्टमा हेर्नुहोस् न, अहिले इकोनोमी इज डाउन, 50-60% business is down. तर as a business owners, we still have aspiration कि we should outdo our last year target. Or last year, whatever targets I think we all had set, I think we had all achieved not more than 60-65%. But as an owner, when we are sitting in an annual business strategy review, we would push our team to outdo the last year target that they had taken. So normally, but to be more practical, I think it is both related. तपाईले अब आँखा चिमेर सेल्सको टार्गेट मात्रै दिएर पनि भएन मेरो हिसाबले. हामीले normally के गर्छौँ कि we look at the market scoping, market sizing for any industry that I am in. Suppose say we are in cement manufacturing or say we are in cable and wire manufacturing. We see what is the market size of that particular industry. Where did we close last year, and what market share are we aspiring to achieve in next fiscal year? So that market share can be say 25% growth, can be a 40% growth, can be 15% growth. That depends on the variables that how would you want to drive your business. Suppose if I'm looking for a 40% growth, to achieve that 40% growth, what are the products or what pricing product or other strategy we have to do within our team so that the sales team is able to achieve their target, because sales team are always on the forefront, in the market, and all the target pressure is, obviously on the sales team because they are the ones who are driving, the revenue goals of the organization. But in our organization at Ramesh Corp, what we are trying to practice is not to burden them with the entire sales revenue goal. The goal is also shared with other functions, maybe the factory, the production people, maybe the commercial people, maybe others, because those people also play a very important role on how our sales team is going to achieve the target in the market. Because at the end of the day, we have to be competitive. हामी product मा competitive भएन अथवा we are selling a wrong product अनि market customer को demand अर्को छ, त्यस्तो भयो भने त sales target तपाईको कहिले पनि achieve हुँदैन. So the first thing to set out right is a clear business plan wherein you have a clear strategy from say the production floor to the sales in the retail outlet. त्यो कुरामा synchronization छ कि छैन, and are we relative to the market or not? A lot of times what happens is, we close our eyes, we are so aspirational that we don't see कि market कहाँ गइरहेछ अनि हामी कहाँ गइरहेछौँ. अनि आजको time it is such a fast-paced world now. Technology is changing so fast, and competition is coming so fast. Tomorrow you never know, today what you are selling tomorrow might be, irrelevant. Cement को केसमा हेर्नुस् न, we only had few तपाईको government cement manufacturers doing pretty good, 15 वर्ष अगाडि. In our initiation, we launched Shivam Cement, and it totally converted the cement import into the country, and it led to 20 more industries coming into cement manufacturing. But today, what has happened is that boon has turned around, wherein we have overcapacity, and we do not have the desired sales in the market. So आजको दिनमा cement को sales team ले तपाईले के भन्नुहुन्छ? Would you tell them to like sell the same number of bags that they have been selling, or would we hold back and be more strategic and see, okay, you focus on these areas where our realization is better, and maybe don't look at non-core areas where there are other players in the market. So I think if I'm able to like express myself right, we have to be strategic. We cannot just fold our eyes, blind our eyes, and say 15% growth, 20% growth, and just throw it on the sales team. That is what we do.
Exactly, like throw on sales team is like frustration on sales team again.
I can just
please.
To that. So as Rohit rightly said, you can't just have a target and then the company is like done for the year and next asar masantma kura garu testo to milde. So in my case, since I'm into electronics, the way the products change so fast, like, can you imagine now anybody buying not a smartphone? It's a must, so the older phone's out. In case of televisions, it's a smart TV. So the normal television, the sales have dropped completely. So the target has to be according, especially in electronics, with the latest product, with the latest technology. So it has to keep changing. Of course, we can't give a figure because of the situations in Nepal, the economy. You just don't know how things are. We are smiling here, but all of us, we know we are bleeding from the heart because we know the status of business at present. That's the way economy is going right now. So there has to be some flexibility. You cannot give a target which the sales team is totally not able to achieve. What is the point? And also, having said that, also important that you cannot have a target which is very easy to achieve within 10 gate or 15 gate, which it doesn't make sense. So setting a target is, especially in Nepali context, I think it's the most difficult because of the scenario we face time and again.
I think I'll continue with the same question with you, Akshay. Like sales target, हजुरहरु जस्तो multi-diverse companies हरुले set गर्ने बेला आएको rational के हुन्छ? तर सँगै त्यसमा एड गर्न के चाहन्छु भनेपछि कहिलेकाहीँ हामीले सेल्स टार्गेट हामीले देखिराखेको प्र्याक्टिस के हुन्छ नि एउटा टु हाई टार्गेट राख्छौँ। जस्तो अहिले पोस्ट कोभिड पछाडि सिचुएसन चाहिँ धेरै टर्मल सिचुएसनमा गइरहेको छौँ। हामीले पास्ट प्रेसिडेन्ट लगाएर एउटा टार्गेट सेट गर्छौँ, तर त्यसैबाट हाम्रो त्यो खर्च पनि डिफाइन भइरहेको हुन्छ, स्किम प्लान भइराखेको हुन्छ, गिभेजर प्लान, सबै चिज प्लान भइराखेको हुन्छ। अब यस्तो बेलामा हामी फर्स्ट क्वार्टर र सेकेन्ड क्वार्टरमा पुग्ने बेलामा हामीलाई जब रियलाइज हुन्छ यो अनरियलिस्टिक टार्गेट भयो, अब यसलाई हामीले रिसेट गर्नु पर्यो। यस्तो सिचुएसन्सलाई बिकज अब सेल्स डिरेक्टरले पिच गर्ने बेलामा हामीलाई त अनरियलिस्टिक टार्गेट भनेपछि म्यानेजमेन्टले वा इन्भेस्टर साइडबाट यसलाई हामीले विनिङ सेल्सबाट हेर्छौँ कि लुजिङ सेल्सबाट हेर्छौँ वा यो सिचुएसन्सको डिमान्ड भनेर हेरिराखेका हुन्छौँ।
सो हाम्रो सिस्टममा चाहिँ वी don't really set targets, we get targets. We encourage our sales people or the marketing people to work with the finance team and set targets and present it to the board. So त्यो अलिकति फरक छ। I'll give you an example. Yo hotel ko chahi we opened in 2021 end. 2021 November tira chahi we thought that COVID is finished now, it's not going to come back. And then January 2022 Omicron happened, I know. So त्यसपछि chahi the target that was set for the calendar year 2022 had to be revised. Had to be revised because of Omicron, because of various issues, macroeconomic levels, which is out of our control. So what is important is to communicate with your marketing, sales, finance team, and to continuously monitor what can be achieved versus what was budgeted or what was targeted. And there has to be logic behind it, I know. There has to be reasons, practical reasons. It can be, you know, like Rohit ji said, it can be related to oversupply. It can be related to, like Seema ji said, macroeconomic scenarios like liquidity crisis, or bank interest rates are high, or disposable income is low. So it is very important not to be stringent in targets, but at the same time, you cannot be very loose as well. So you need to work with the team together, with the sales team, and you need to monitor whether it's monthly, whether it's quarterly, whether it's bi-yearly. The goal is to get as close to the initially set target, and then to monitor it, to understand each other, that why we have accomplished this target or why we have not accomplished this target. So that's very important.
Thanks, Akshay. हामीले I think we touched upon target winning target ko लागि there are like few components which can help organizations while setting up the whole target for the organizations. अघि न सिमेन्ट इन्डस्ट्रीको एउटा एकदमै राम्रो इक्जाम्पल लिनुभयो. अहिले बिङ एज अ मिडिया हामीले फेसै गरेको के छ भनेपछि वान अफ द लार्जेस्ट स्पेन्डर सिमेन्ट इन्डस्ट्री एज देयर इज नो वेयर होइन. सो यसले होल इकोसिस्टमलाई कहीँ न कहीँ इफेक्ट गरिराखेको छ. सो पोस्ट कोभिड हामीले एउटा एकदमै एउटा सिग्निफिकेन्ट चेन्ज मार्केटमा देखेका छौँ जसले हामीलाई मैले भने जब हामी आफ्नो सिनियरसँग कुरा गर्छौँ उनीहरूले आफ्नो जीवनमा नदेखेको एउटा टर्बुलेन्ट टाइमबाट हामी गइरहेछौँ भन्ने कुराहरू गरिराखेका छन्. सो यस्तो इकोनोमिक रिसेसनमा पोलिटिकल अनसर्टेनिटिज अनस्टेबिलिटी भइरहेछ, विभिन्न पोलिसिजहरू बाहिर निस्किराखेको छ होइन. यसले होल डाइनामिक्स नै चेन्ज गर्यो. डाइनामिक्स चेन्ज गर्दा पनि हाम्रो जिडिपी घट्दो क्रममा 5.5 कतिमा आएको छ. अहिले इन्फ्लेसन 8 मा पुग्न लागेको छ भनेको स्पेन्डिङ हामी घटिराखेका छौँ, अब महँगाई बढिराखेको छ. यस्तो बेलामा हाम्रो सेल्स म्यानेजर सेल्स टिम चाहिँ हाम्रो प्रडक्ट लिएर मार्केटमा कुदिराखेका छन्, बेच्नलाई ताबडतोड लागिराखेका छन्, स्किम आइराखेको छ, घर घर पुगिराख्नु भएको छ, सबै फर्मेटमा गइराखेका छौँ होइन. तर देयर इज नो सक्सेस राइट. यस्तो बेलामा मैले मेरो क्वेसन चाहिँ म मेबी सीमादीबाट सोध्न सक्छु. इम्प्लोइ मोटिभेसन्स लाई हजुरहरूले कस्तो किसिमको विनिङ कल्चर सेट गर्न चाहनुहुन्छ, कस्तो किसिमको फर्मेट किनेर जान्छौँ यो टिमलाई मोटिभेट गर्न रिटेन गर्नको लागि?
Thank you, because it's a very relevant question. We have gone through such economic, we are in fact going through this crisis, and to motivate the team is important. What we have done in our organization that we've had some workshops regarding this only and some skill training happening so that they are also involved, learning new skills. This is going to be temporary, definitely. This phase will pass and we will get into a better future. But that skills training has helped them. Other than that, what we have done is there are various ways of pushing up the sales. That first, we have started with exchange scheme, which was not very popular in consumer electronics. So that has boosted the sales, talking about exchanging your old televisions or refrigerator, whatever, and buying new one. And of course, EMI, which was again not in consumer electronic. It was popular in when you're buying a house or automobiles, but in consumer electronics. So you have to come out with new strategies, how to help the sales team, which has helped them. And as I said earlier, that we've had some skills training programs for them, so that they are involved and they are motivated. And sometimes it is important that from the leadership, the positivity has to be there. We cannot show to them that it's bad and the company is going through. They understand the losses we are going through. We are transparent, but we have to show, as a leader of the company, I show my positivity, and that goes to them. And then all these other channels we are using to continue in these tough times, it's helping us.
Thank you. I think we are running out of time, but I will take these questions to Akshay, because in your multi-diverse conglomerate, you are focused on export, right? The export ma hune policies changes haru, त्यो export ma hune जति पनि यो post pandemic का जति पनि effect haru ga छन्, त्यसले हजुरको जुन टीम फ्र्याक्सन अफ टीम छ नेपालमा हुने टीम र नेपालभन्दा बाहिर हेर्ने टीममा मोटिभेसन सेम हुन्छ कि फरक हुन्छ?
Motivation चाहिँ सधैँ we try to maintain that whether it's good times, bad times, motivation should be the same. Passion should be the same. In fact, I think bad times ma alikati passion बढ्छ because you have to be more competitive. You have to be able to, I would say, gauge, very turbulent waters. So motivation is always higher for me, and I would say for my team as well in bad times. However, results are not there, right? So when the results are not there, it is human nature to feel a little low. It is human nature to feel a little disheartened. But I think motivation levels, if you like your job, if you're passionate about it, like Seema ji said, if the leader exudes confidence and passion and hope, the motivation stays good.
All right. So leader la choihalnu bhayo, leader ko agindekhi pani kura uthirakheko थियो. We know all by saying that people don't leave their organizations, they leave their leaders, right? र विनिङ कल्चरको लागि मलाई लाग्छ जुन अर्गनाइजेसन्सको पनि कम्युनिकेसन्सको भ्याल्युको कुरा गऱ्यौँ, एउटा भ्याल्यु कम्युनिकेसन्सको भ्याल्युलाई हामीले ट्रिकल डाउन माथिबाट तलसम्म कसरी लिएर जान सक्छौँ बिकज रोटन स्टार्ट्स फ्रम टप भन्छ तलबाट त खासै केही हुँदैन रोटन स्टार्ट्स फ्रम द टप भन्छ सो नो म्याटर हाउ गुड द कम्पनी इज नो म्याटर हाउ गुड द इन्सेन्टिभ इज हाउ गुड द एटमोस्फियर इज इफ your leader is not good people leave the job the best of the best performers leave the job right my questions I think I'll take these questions to with Rohit so what best leadership approach do you have in a company because I heard that after you joined the company you have changed there was a upside down change in the organization एकदमै राम्रो ग्रो भएको छ राइट कस्तो बेस्ट लिडरशिप स्टाइल तपाईले युज गरिराख्नु छ एउटा अर्गनाइजेसन छ विनिङ सेल्स कल्चर इस्टाब्लिश गर्नको लागि
the basic I think first thing we did was improve the infrastructure for our people. When we rebranded ourselves as Ramesh Corp, I totally redid the entire office infrastructure because that is where people are spending most of the time. Normally the thing is like the owners would have the best of offices, but the employees are struggling with basic office space. So I think that is changing in Nepal. Jun hamile pani gareko cha ni dheri various other organizations like Golyan group and even Golcha group and everyone has done that. That does keep the motivation going in the people because what they think is the owners are not only thinking about themselves, owners are also thinking about the entire organization. Plus also candid conversations which Seema just mentioned, have an open discussion, open conversation because these are the times when you need to physically talk to each other, so I mean more on our review meetings we do discuss data and everything, but at the same time we also discuss and need to understand the pain what our sales team is going through, because you just mentioned about fixing up a business target and doing a review. So we did that in our organization last year. So we had very aspirational targets, last year, and we could see that those targets are not reaching anywhere. So we did a mid-year review. We sat with our entire sales team from various verticals. We told them to honestly tell us what is market looking like and where do you think we would close during the end of the year. Because if as a senior management, if we do not adhere to that, if we just keep pushing them to achieve what is not non-achievable, then the true things would stop coming to you. Everything would start going under the carpet. That is what you need to avoid as an organization. And once you are there with your people in these times, certainly there are a lot of people who would stay with you, in your organization for long term.
So what you are saying that infrastructure and open communication is the key?
I would say so.
Okay, so I'll pass on this question to Akshay. Maybe after you joined your group of companies, it's been known while I was talking to you, I acknowledge that you are a people first approach leadership style तपाईको छ हैन तपाई आइसकेपछि त्यो इम्प्लिमेन्टेसन्स पनि गर्नु भएको छ. So what exactly people first approach style अनि यसले मान्छेलाई कसरी मोटिभेट गरिरहेछ होल अर्गनाइजेसन्समा?
So what I did was पहिला चाहिँ it was always top down sort of approach, whether it's sales targets, whether it is के गर्ने, whether it's finances, कहाँ पैसा राख्ने, since we're into all of us are into multiple businesses. It was very top-down, leader or director-centric approach. So I changed that because I would say, if I may, none of us know everything, right? What Seema ji or Rohit ji, they know in their field, I can never know, it's impossible. So when we are investing and when we are hiring right talent for the job, that means they know the job, right? So we have to listen to them. And when we listen to them, that makes them feel that they are not just there to fulfill a gap, they are there to contribute in ideas as well. So that is what a holistic approach is. I think Rohit ji mentioned that we cannot always put the entire sales on the sales team. So we have in our organization, we have a performance-linked incentive that is cross-functional. It is not, okay, if sales achieves their target, they will get the incentive. No. If sales does not achieve their target, even production or even finance will not get their part of their incentive. So we have to interlink everyone and we have to make sure that everyone feels a part of the bigger goal. It is not about an individual and it is not about targets or some business. It is about something you have to enjoy. You have to see how you're contributing to the company, your family, organization, society, country, everything, I know. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's great. We are also running out of time. I just want to quickly, because you are into, and your team le mero whole Samsung Plaza, like whole mero your business la herirakeko cha. So is it different? Is it different to them? Like, I mean, what leadership style you are using in your organizations that is helping achieving your target, or that helping achieving the winning culture in your organization?
Yeah, so when my first Samsung Plaza was opened 20 years back, and yes, it was very, very different because you don't associate women with electronics. You know, you associate women working in nursing and banking and schools and all, but electronic is something, and then things have changed now. 20 years back, it was never associated. So when I got them, that itself was a big factor for these girls because they felt very empowered. And when you feel empowered, you give your best. So, and after that, we have now all over Nepal, we have around 14 plazas. And in Kathmandu, the entire team, 100%, I would say, from the manager to finance to marketing to sales, and everything is run by women. So they have, why they're performing better, I'm not saying if it was men team, they would have performed better or less. That's not the comparison. It's not being a gender bias here. But the thing is, they feel very empowered because they feel that they are able to achieve on their own, especially things like electronics, where they have to talk about air conditioner, or where they have to talk about, you know, televisions or refrigerators. This is something which earlier it was not related to a women team. So that has helped, and it's really motivating. And when they see the entire team, from me to my down there, all of us, the girl who gives me tea is also women. So it's a very great feeling.
So as of common, I think like it's a communications and leadership, true leadership that's convey the actual message of winning culture, I guess, that we all agree with that. So before I went to our audiences to ask for questions, I think one last question that is actually bugging me from long time, and in fact I was trying to decode like यसलाई यस्तो समस्यालाई कसरी सल्भ गर्ने. मेबी नेपाल बाहिर पनि हुन्छ, नेपाल भित्र अझै म बढी देख्छु. इन्टर डिपार्टमेन्टल कोलाबोरेसन्सको कुराहरुमा जहिले पनि हामी अल्झिन्छौँ कि कहिलेकाहीँ कस्तो के हुन्छ भने चाहिँ हामीसँग ए टिम हुन्छ हैन, कर्पोरेटको ए टिम हुन्छ, फाइनान्सको हुन्छ, मार्केटिङको हुन्छ, एकदमै ए टिम हुन्छ, तर टप म्यानेजमेन्टको एकदम ब्युरोक्रेसी प्रोसेसले गर्दाखेरि हामी हराइराखेका हुन्छौँ त्यो विनिङ सेल्स र विनिङ कल्चर भित्र छिर्नको लागि. अदरवे साइड पनि कस्तो हुन्छ, कहिलेकाहीँ म्यानेजमेन्ट एकदमै राम्रो हुन्छ, एकदमै ओपन हुन्छ, ओपन कम्युनिकेसन्समा छिरिराखेको हुन्छ, तर तल्लो लेभलमा धेरै ब्युरोक्रेसी हुन्छ, त्यसलाई रिजल्भै गर्न सकिराखेको हुँदैन. यस्तो बेलामा विनिङ कल्चर कसरी सेट गर्ने? बिकज यु एज द ओनर, हजुरहरू आफ्नो अर्गनाइजेसनमा एकदमै स्मुथ विनिङ कल्चर अर्गनाइजेसन हो जसले मेरो टार्गेट अचिभ गरोस् भन्ने चाहनुहुन्छ डेफिनेटली हैन. सो यस्तो सिचुएसनमा जहाँ कहिलेकाहीँ टप म्यानेजमेन्ट ब्युरोक्रेसी हुन्छ, कहिलेकाहीँ तल लोवर म्यानेजमेन्ट बढी ब्युरोक्रेसी हुन्छ, कसरी सल्भ गर्ने? what is like important tool in this? So maybe Akshay, we can go with you.
Yeah, this is a very relevant question. No? Bureaucracy is not only in the government and in organizations also, it happens ultimately. So how I can only give our company's example. How we do it is we do quarterly reviews with the team. And so for example, someone who's reporting to me, he cannot get a 100% mark if his team is not getting a 100% mark. So in our reviews, we do a second layer review as well. So I don't do it, but my head of human resources, she does reviews of top level and then also their second level to get the feedback of their supervisor. So alikati, to mitigate, we do a lot of inter-hierarchy reviews and understand how the leader's doing, whether the employee under him or her is motivated, and also the inverse. But ultimately, see, you have to trust your team. You have to trust who you have put in which position to do their job. And feedback is very, very important. Feedback of the team. Yeah.
Rohit, maybe we can pass that because we're running. Review, feedback, एउटा उहाँले एउटा राम्रो राख्नुभयो. द ब्युरोक्रेटिक प्रोसेसलाई हामीले अरु कुनै एंगल अझै थप्न सक्छौं जसले गर्दाखेरि विनिङ सेल्स कल्चरतिर हामी जान सक्छौं. हजुरको थर्ड प्रोसेस यसमा
हामीले आफ्नो अर्गनाइजेसनमा सक्सेसफुली प्र्याक्टिस गरेर आएको 360 डिग्री एनुअल रिभ्यू हो. सो एउटा एनुअल अप्रेजल हुन्छ. 360 डिग्री रिभ्यू डज नट ह्याभ टु डु विथ पर्फर्मेन्सको केही पनि कुरा हुँदैन. त्यसमा भनेमा 360 डिग्री रिभ्यूमा मेरो पनि 360 डिग्री रिभ्यू हुन्छ. भनेमा मेरो पियर्स भयो, मेरो डाइरेक्ट रिपोर्टै भयो. सो वाट दिस रिभ्यू हेल्प्स इज for people to know and realize what other people are like, thinking or like, perceiving about them. किनकि धेरैचोटि के हुन्छ अर्गनाइजेसनमा when you are doing stuff yourself, you're successful, हैन, आफ्नै एउटा perception build हुन्छ. So I think 360 degree review in our organization has helped us.
That's great. Like we're similar. Seema, the last, like, what's your view on this?
Yeah, so as they said, even our organization, the same, we have this appraisal structure, and everything is reviewed, and the important part is the leaders have to accept what has been reviewed, whether it is, we cannot show a thing that if it's something not liked by employee and not rejecting it, then that is a difficult part for any leadership, I guess, but to accept it, and that's when we can go to the winning culture we were talking about.
Absolutely. So, we are now very close to our session. Before we end up our wrap up this session, Q&A 20 मिनटको जति Q&A छ. हामीले बढीमा 3 देखि 4 वटा जति क्वेशन्स लिन सक्छौं. सो माई रिक्वेस्ट टु द अडियन्स, लाइक हजुरहरुकोसँग भएको क्वेशन्स रेडी गर्नु पर्यो र हात उठाइदिनु पर्यो, र भोलिन्टियरहरुले हात उठाइदिएको ठाउँमा चाहिँ पुगिदिएर प्लिज मलाई माइक दिनुस्. एन्ड तपाईले स्पेसिफिकली आफ्नो क्वेशन्स कोलाई राख्न खोज्नु भएको छ नाम लिएर आफ्नो क्वेशन्स राख्दिनु होला. थ्यांक यू.
Thank you, Mohan sir, for this event. First of all, thank you, Mohan sir, for bringing Dr. Pawan Agrawal in this event. I'm still getting those goosebumps, you know. I mean, I feel like just going back to my company and start selling my product myself. It was really a great exposure. My question to all of you three sitting out there, you know, as an entrepreneur, we look investment and returns. But then in Nepal right now, the recession is on, the cost of production is high, and as we know, you know, the policies are not very correct. And companies are struggling to pay bank debts. So at this point of time, I would not be speaking about Akshay, you know, I mean, your company must be doing very well. I'm not talking about your company, but then those companies, the SMEs, or the upper medium industries, how do they meet your target in the adverse time? And to meet target, you know, how do you pump in money when you do not have amount with you? And second, what system do you apply to find right people from the market? I think I've given the right two questions, if you've understood. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll just start this off, if that's okay. So it's not that my companies or our companies are doing too well, so just so it's out there. Everyone's struggling, you know, this year everyone is struggling. However, to answer your question, I'll just take a minute. See, all companies have had good years. You know, I'm sure in 2021, 22, or earlier before COVID, they've had good years. So, you know, in these times where the years are bad, you know, you have to consolidate. You have to accept that you will not get the kind of growth that you've gotten in the previous years. You will not get the kind of profits or revenues you've gotten in the previous years. And you have to live with it. You have to accept it. In terms of struggling to pay debts, in terms of struggling to, you know, finance operations, see, this is a call. It's a tough call that individual entrepreneurs have to take, whether to continue or whether to, you know, try to find some funding or try to find a partner, or to go back to banks and, you know, extend some lines of credits. There are multiple options, but that is a call that the entrepreneur themselves have to take. And your second question, I won't take too much time. I'll let Rohit ji or Seema ji answer.
I'll answer the question about, I think, finding the right person, right? For that, I think, you know, it cannot happen overnight. What in our organization, what has helped is, I mean, 10 years back, you know, when I joined business, we did not have an HR in our company, you know. And we did not even realize that we might require an HR. But when we hired an HR, then we realized how important an HR is. So I think for all business owners, first we have to like, you know, be mindful that HR is as important as finance, you know, because we only prioritize finance and HR we think administration. So if you have a good HR, you know, who is preaching and practicing what organization is doing, organization is saying, automatically you'll start finding competing good competitive people in the market.
म पनि रोहितलाई एड गर्न चाहन्छु. तपाईले तीनजनालाई मात्र सोध्नु भएको थियो. सिन्स अर्गनाइजेसन्समा हामी पनि यो राइट माइन्ड जो सही मतलब यो राइट क्यान्डिडेट हुन्छ कि हुँदैन भन्ने कुरा हामीलाई बढेको छ. मलाई के लाग्छ भनेपछि राइट क्यान्डिडेट कहिले पनि हुँदैन. एउटा फर्स्ट भर्खरै ग्रेजुएट गरेर आइराखेको मान्छेबाट हामीले कति एक्सपेक्टेसन्स राख्ने हैन. उसले सुरुमा आउँदै गरेको स्किल इन्हान्समेन्ट हामी ट्राई गर्न सक्छौँ, हेर्न सक्छौँ ऊ केमा राम्रो छ, उसको कुन सफ्टवेयरमा बढी राम्रो काम गरिरहेको छ, उसको स्किल उसको थट प्रोसेस के चाहिँ हेर्न सक्छौँ. तर राइट माइन्डसेट सायद एउटा कम्पनी हामी यतापट्टि बसिरहेको जुन टिम हुन्छ उसले ग्रो गर्नुपर्छ होला ओभर द इयर. अनि त्यो कल्चर पास अन गर्नुपर्छ होला. यो गरेन भने चाहिँ हामीले राइट पिपल राइट ट्यालेन्ट्सलाई बाहिरबाट मात्रै खोजेर चाहिँ निस्किँदैन. बिकज हामी ग्रो गर्छौँ 10 वर्ष जन्माउँछौँ, अर्को एउटा कम्पनी आउँछ उसले टक्क ट्यालेन्ट हन्ट भन्यो, मान्छे लिएर आइदियो. द्याट इज नट अ राइट ट्यालेन्ट. एक्चुअली मान्छे जन्माउने चाहिँ ट्यालेन्ट हट आइगेस लाइक उहाँलाई कसरी उसलाई त्यो लेभलसम्म पुऱ्याइदिन सक्ने. आई थिङ्क आई एन्सर्ड युर क्वेसन. थ्याङ्क यू. अनदर क्वेसन्स प्लिज.
Thank you for this question. Actually, I just want to get your opinion. Like one great sales master said, if you want to look for a winning culture, get clues from across the industry. Get clues from across the industry. Is it relevant? My first question is. Second, in terms of getting a winning sales culture, is modeling the masters the right approach? Modeling the masters, is it the right approach? Thank you. It's Himraj Sharma from pharma industry. Thank you, Mohan sir, for this wonderful event.
See, what I would say, if you are in a company, if you've joined the company, obviously you must have trusted the leadership before joining a company. You must have trusted the leadership, and that is why you're part of that company. And modeling then comes because if you look up to your leader and if he is giving you the value you're looking for, then there's no harm in that. You are just learning something new. If you're not happy with your own leadership, what's happening in the company, then I don't think so you'll be able to perform well. There is no point sticking to that company. So the leadership, if it is transparent, it's communicating to you, and it's listening to you, then I guess I feel it should be very, very comfortable to be part of it and looking up to the leaders, and it can provide a winning culture.
Tapaiko, I think your question thi ki can we import culture, or can we look around and try to build that culture in an organization? I don't think, personally, I don't think culture is one fit all size, because like our 3 organizations are different. We might be inheriting 3 different things, and our businesses are different, so different business might have different culture. It is about realizing, what business are you in, or what good practices are around, and trying to open-heartedly, I think, do it. Obviously, we can draw aspiration, but because of the age, gender, a lot of their other biases there in every organization. So I think every organization is I think different in that aspect. We can always draw aspiration, but ultimately we have to have a self-belief on what kind of culture we want to endure in an organization. Yeah, adoption, yeah, absolutely. Adoption can be done, but I mean it has to start from the top, and we have to look what aspects of that culture we are adapting.
We still can take 1 or 2 questions. If
नमस्ते, मेरो रोहित सरलाई चाहिँ एउटा क्वेसन हैन, किन मैले एलाइन गरिरहेको छु कि सरसित कसरी भन्दाखेरि नि, जसरी यहाँ सेल्सको मान्छे अलवेज एग्रेसिभ हुन्छ क्या, अलवेज एग्रेसिभ हुन्छ, किन टार्गेट हुन्छ पर सेकेन्ड पर मिनट हैन. तर त्यो कुरा चाहिँ तपाईँको फङ्सनल हेडहरूले बुझ्दैनन् क्या, दे आर सिटिङ इन चेयर्स हैन. अब यो हुन्छ के भन्दाखेरि रिपोर्टिङ गर्ने ती फङ्सनल हुन्छन् फेरि हैन. फलानलाई त डाटै आउन्न, फलाल त एनालाइसिसै गरेन भन्ने हुन्छ कि यो टर्म्समा सेल्सको मान्छे चाहिँ ओभर प्रेसर भएर बसेको हुन्छ क्या यो 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 प्रेसरलाई रिलिज गर्नुको लागि तपाईँले के सजेसन दिनुहुन्छ हामी सेल्सको यहाँ मान्छेहरू बसिराख्नु भएको छ होइन सबैजना सर पनि सेल्सै हो सरको एन्सरबाट मैले धेरै चाहिँ रिलेट गरिरहेको थिएँ कि यसको एउटा सरले चाहिँ भनिदियो भने चाहिँ हामीलाई पनि खुसी लाग्थ्यो कि
तपाईँको कुरा एकदम ठिक हो मेरो हिसाबले होइन सेल्समा तपाईँको फिल्डमा जुन हाम्रो सेल्स एक्जिक्युटिभ एएसएम आरएसएम हुन्छ सबै एकदमै जोसले लागिरहेको हुन्छ तर त्यो एउटा टु फ्रेङ्कली भन्दा होइन कतिचोटि के हुन्छ कि उहाँले एउटा पर्सेप्सन पनि एउटा बनाउनु भएको हुन्छ कि हामी धेरै एग्रेसिभ छौँ होइन तर मेरो हिसाबले यसमा के हुन्छ कि हेर्नुहोस् नेपालमा मैले के देखेको छु कि हामी एएसएम टिएसओ आरएसएम लेभलमा एक दरो तरिकाले सामान कसरी बेच्ने भनेर मात्रै हामी लागिरहेको हुन्छौँ कि हामीले अरू एस्पेक्ट्सहरू हामीले स्टडी गर्दैनौँ कि ओके हाम्रो यो सेल्स भइरहेको छैन भने अथवा भइरहेछ भने वाट आर द अदर एस्पेक्ट मार्केट कम्पिटिसन के छ म्यापिङ के छ मार्केट सेयर के छ यो धेरै कुराहरूमा हामीले पनि आफ्नो सेल्स टिमसँग धेरै स्ट्रगल गर्नुपर्छ होइन तर तपाईँले जुन भन्नुभयो एउटा फङ्सनल माथि बसिरहेछ अनि लाइक द पर्सन इज नट बदर अबाउट कि के भइरहेको छ आई थिङ्क एक्ज्याक्टली त्यस्तो हुँदैन होइन तर यसमा के हुन्छ कि तपाईँको जुन फङ्सनल हेड छ इफ द फङ्सनल हेडले जुन रिपोर्टिङ मागेको छ नट ओन्ली सेल्सको एस्पेक्टले तर तपाईँको मार्केट पेनिट्रेसन डब्लुओडी डिओडी अरू एस्पेक्टले जुन तपाईँको त्यो कुरा हुन्छ अनि अक्षयले पनि जुन भनेको त्यसमा लजिक राइट छ भने आई थिङ्क तपाईँको फङ्सनल हेडले पनि तपाईँको सपोर्ट गर्छ तर कतिचोटि मेरो पर्सनल एक्सपिरियन्समा वाइल टकिङ टु आवर ग्राउन्ड पिपल धेरै कुरा हुन्छ कि सेल्स भएन यो भएन त्यो भएन इट अल बक्स डाउन टु प्राइसिङ के होइन वेन इट अल बक्स डाउन टु प्राइसिङ देन नो वान क्यान हेल्प यु तर इफ यु हेभ अ स्ट्रङ लजिक of say product pricing or market penetration WD DOD mix I'm sure like tapaiko it will translate up and it will convert into proper decision making malai jasto lagcha
thank you sir
thank you
one last question please one last question
Namaste. In some cases, rarely, our team might have done big mistake at the time of service delivery, but some mistakes do not have the perfect solution. How can we manage that situation on the way in which the actual problem has not been solved, but the customer is happy? How can we manage that situation?
So maybe this Seema can answer the questions because...
Thank you.
I think the right way will be to accept that there was a flaw. We cannot move on because customer is happy today, he may not be happy tomorrow. So to accept that there was a mistake and we should rectify, I would say that would be the best way because in the end where we're talking about sales, it's not always just sales target driven, it should be customer oriented. Especially my work is always about the customer feel, so that's how I think. To have a long-term relationship, you have to have whatever you are selling has to be customer oriented. So he's your permanent customer. You're not just looking for sales of this month or that month. So if you're saying if some mistake has happened, let's accept it. And I've always been talking about there should be communication. Let's talk it out, bring it to the table, leadership, the sales team, everything. This was the mistake. And I think we should move it from, the approach should be different. And this is how we should get it. That's what I would do in my company.
Thank you for being amazing audience. I think now we'll sum up this session. Thank you for being amazing panel. Winning sales, winning culture, winning sales, losing culture, or losing sales, winning culture. यो घुमि नै रहन्छ जस्तो लाग्छ किनभने चाहिँ हामीले नोकियाको एक्जाम्पल लियौँ अघि न हामीले जनकपुर चुरोट कारखाना जस्तो एक्जाम्पल्स लियौँ होइन ठुल्ठुला कम्पनीहरू पनि धराशायी भएका छन् सानसानो कम्पनीहरू पनि ठुला भएका छन् यो सबै एउटा प्रोसेस एउटा एसओपी भित्र हामी छिर्छौँ अघि न हाम्रो पवन अग्रवाल सरले एकदमै एक्जाम्पल्स के राख्नु चाहिँ उहाँले लिस्ट अफ कम्पोनेन्ट्सहरू लेख्नुभयो कि सबै कम्पोनेन्ट्सहरू राख्नुभयो तर लास्टमा के भन्नु भने चाहिँ जो केपेबल छ पहिला काम गर्नु पऱ्यो हामी काम गर्नु पऱ्यो एकदमै आफ्नो एनर्जी लगाउनु पऱ्यो त्यसमा होइन अर्गनाइजेसन्सको पोलिसिज एसओपिजहरू हुन्छ तर विनिङ सेल्स र विनिङ कल्चरको लागि म्यानेजमेन्टको भ्याल्यु म्यानेजमेन्टको कम्युनिकेसन्स डाउन आइसकेपछि त्यसलाई इम्प्लिमेन्टेसन प्रोसेस सायद हामी लाग्नुपर्छ होला यति भन्दै आजको सेसन्स कल्टिभेटिङ अ विनिङ सेल्स कल्चर म थोरै भए पनि केही टेकअवेज हजुरहरूलाई पक्कै पनि भएको थियो होला सो यो सेसनलाई यहाँ क्लोज गर्नुभन्दा अगाडि फेरि पनि मोहन दाई र ग्रोथ सेलरलाई यो एउटा अपर्च्युनिटी इस्टाब्लिस गरिदिएकोमा धन्यवाद। एउटा राम्रो सेसन गरिदिनु भयो। यहाँ बस्ने धेरै मान्छेको लागि बिहान हाम्रो डाक्टर साहब एकाडेमिसियन हाम्रो सरदेखि लिएर हाम्रो पवन अग्रवाल सरसम्म पनि हामीले एउटा राम्रो मेसेज पायौँ र यो सेसनबाट र आउने सेसनबाट पनि हजुरले राम्रो टेकअवे पाउनुहुन्छ। सँगैसँगै आजदेखि हजुरले सुरु गर्नुभएको अवार्ड्स सेल्स अवार्डको लागि हजुरलाई अग्रिम शुभकामना र पाउनुहुने जति पनि अब 21 जना क्याटेगोरीमा उहाँले दिँदै हुनुहुन्छ भन्नुभएको थियो बिहान, सबैलाई पनि अग्रिम बधाई। यति भन्दै आजको सेसनलाई म यहीँ क्लोज गर्छु। हाम्रो प्यानललाई पनि थ्याङ्क यू सो मच। थ्याङ्क यू।
Well, thank you so much to our panelists and the moderator. I'm going to sum this up in a while, but thank you and a huge round of applause to all of them who are on stage. So it was such an interesting session, and I was entirely into it, listening to all the ideas they've shared and talked about winning sales, winning culture, losing sales, losing culture, and everything based on it. हामी त्यसको बारे पनि discussions definitely गर्छौं, तर as they've mentioned the importance of realizing the marketing reality gap and also leadership कस्तो छ and who we are trusting to, and when we are trusting our leaders, we're also trusting the process they're going into it was so important, because there should be people that you all look up to as well. And interesting questions haru pani sodnu bhayo, jun interesting question ma uhaharle भन्नु भएको जस्तै leaders कस्तो choose गर्नु भएको छ त्यो एउटा importance भइहाल्यो, but motivation को कुरा गर्दा डाक्टर अग्रवालले भन्नु भएको जस्तो यो सबै motivation मा सबैजनाको आफ्नो डिफ्रेन्ट बिजनेस हुन्छ, डिफ्रेन्ट कल्चर हुन्छ, एन्ड वाट काइन्ड अफ बिजनेस वी आर इन्टु इट, अनि हाम्रो कल्चर कस्तो छ बुझ्नु चाहिँ एकदमै जरुरी छ। तर मोटिभेसन वी डु गेट फ्रम वर्क, बट रिकग्नेसन चाहिँ आफैले कमाउनुपर्छ भन्ने पर्सपेक्टिभमा उहाँहरूले एज अ होल बोलिदिनु भयो। त्यसको लागि थ्याङ्क यू सो मच टु द प्यानलिस्ट। नाउ आइड लाइक टु रिक्वेस्ट एन्ड कल अपन मिस सम्जना शर्मा, को चेयरपर्सन सेल्स समिट स्टेयरिङ कमिटीबाट अन स्टेज, एन्ड टु गिभ आवर टोकन अफ एप्रिसिएसन to our panelists. So one more time, thank you so much. We're going to start with Mr. Akshay Golyan, Managing Director, Golyan Group. So thank you so much for being a part of the session. Would like to also thank Mr. Rohit Gupta, Vice Chairman. Ramesh Corp, thank you so much, sir, for being here today. Also to Ms. Seema Golcha, Director, Him Electronics. Thank you so much for being a part of the panel discussion. And our moderator, our facilitator for the session, Mr. Shishir Pachhai, CEO, Kantipur Television, Kantipur FM. Thank you so much. We'd like to request for a group photo for everyone together. And as we end our panel discussion on cultivating a winning sales culture, thank you so much, everyone. Would like to thank all our panelists and moderator and request you to be seated, whereas I'd like to request Ms. Samjana Sharma to please be on stage. We do have our sponsor who's been really supportive to us. जसले गर्दा उहाँहरूले गर्दा नै यो कार्यक्रम सफल भएको छ आज। त्यसैले हाम्रो स्पोन्सर्सहरूलाई चाहिँ हामी थ्याङ्क यू भन्न चाहन्छु, and especially our platinum sponsor KNP Japan, like thank you so much भन्दै would like to present this token of appreciation. I'd like to call upon our country manager Mr. Manoj Mishra here on stage, as well as our marketing manager Kedar Thapa to please be on stage as well. Thank you so much for being a part and supporting us throughout the event. Thank you so much. One more time, thank you so much to our platinum sponsor. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us on stage. Would like to thank everybody and request you to please be seated. Now we'd like to move ahead with our next session. This is the 4th session for the day, but this is the keynote session. So keynote session, the importance have already been highlighted. But what